Hello and welcome everyone to another Tune Under podcast, the Southern Hemisphere's original Newcastle United podcast. Joining me tonight is Craig up in Cairns. How you doing, Craig?
I'm not doing too bad for a Monday. Yourself, mate?
Yeah, not too bad. Feeling a bit old today. Knees are sore, so off to get some pharmaceuticals. Can't do some whiskey as a school night. And down in Melbourne, down in Geelong is Keegan. How you doing, Keegan?
Good, thanks, mate. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. Looking forward to tonight's episode. It's like the season's almost upon us. We're doing something a little bit different tonight. Looking forward to the whole season rather than the review of a particular game. But we are going to start off everything by doing a bit of a pre-season roundup. We've had a few games. We've had a few wins. We've had a few losses. All the players have had a bit of a run out. So we'll go through all of the games that we've had so far. So first up, we had Gateshead, 5-1 win to Newcastle, which was good. 1860 Munich, over in our little summer training camp. That was quite good, watching all the players roam around on bikes and sort of enjoy the sun. That was a 3-0 win to us as well. Mainz, we played and lost 1-0. Wasn't the best of games all round. I think it was a bit of a dull affair, shall we say. And then we did this weird double header against Burnley, where we effectively played 2 games against them with swapping sides around at half time, so that each team played the other team's other side. It was very strange, but we got a 3-0 win in one of those games, and we got a 6-2 win in the other game, so happy with that. We then lost 3-2 to Benfica after Joe Linton had a little bit of madness and tried to hack down someone after picking a fight with the ref. But, you know, it was still a good run out for us. Good solid competition, I think, as well. We won 1-0 against Atalanta at St. James's Park. And our last game in the double-header weekend, literally just gone, is Athletic Bilbao, which was a 2-1 win. And that kind of wrapped up our pre-season. So bit of a mixed bag in terms of results. What do you make of the results from those, Craig? I mean, obviously we talk about pre-season. It's more about fitness and getting those games under the belt rather than the actual results. But is there anything? There wasn't anything too worrying amongst all of that.
No, progress was good, and it was against good competition as well, rather than teams from the 3rd division of some obscure league you've never really heard of. And the progression was good from the very first game against Gateshead. Lots of players who've probably maybe changed a few attitudes on, Miggy being one of them. But yeah, I'm more than happy with how pre-season went.
Yeah, so Keegan, it's obviously a bit of a turnaround for Newcastle after recent seasons of playing like Leyton Orient away and losing 6-2 when we had our promotion season, and we've never really sort of had that top quality opposition. So it's refreshing, I guess, to have some pretty impressive opposition, some European pedigree that's playing against us. And what was really impressive was the crowd numbers as well that we got over the weekend at St. James's Park. I think 80 odd, just under 80,000, I think, for the 2 days. So that's pretty impressive. What did you make of the games and the overall sort of the build up for the preseason?
Yeah, I didn't pay any real attention to the results. I think without actually having an intimate knowledge of what's actually happening between the games, it's very hard, I think, to pass judgment on what you see for a match. Like, I imagine they'd be doing 2 a days most days, especially when they're away. They'd be doing 2 a day, so they might do a cardio training, big block in the morning, and then your weights sort of stuff in the afternoon. So given the fitness levels that Eddie demands of the team, I don't think they'd be going lightly in them sessions anyway. So I think, and that's probably had a part to play with the way they approach the games, where most of the time it was 45 minutes per player, and then they were basically swapping the whole sides off at half time. So that's probably to do with their training loads and all that. And it worked well. I mean, from what we know, I mean, John Joe's going to be the only injury to come out of that sort of big block that we've done. So yeah, it shows that they've obviously managed it really, really well, and hopefully everyone's cherry ripe for the first weekend this weekend.
Yeah, it was. I have to say, I was a little bit concerned over the Bilbao game, where we seemed to really fall off late on in the game. So, I mean, by the time we're hitting, the week before the season kicks off, I'd expect our fitness levels to be pretty close to match ready. And it looked like we were really struggling late on in the game. Did you make anything of that, Craig? Or do you think that that's literally just, we're kind of where every other team's going to be at this moment in time?
Yeah, I think everyone's going to be in the same boat. I think the opposition, I think they had maybe a game or two ahead of us as well in terms of their preseason. So
Yeah,
maybe they were a step ahead in terms of fitness. But yeah, I think Eddie will have everyone 99% good to go come the Friday. A little bit of maybe training session in the Saturday morning, and everyone will be raring to go come 3:00 on Saturday.
Yeah, I think it's obviously our game plan under Eddie Howe is very much more of an up-tempo, pressing high kind of game. So you need that sort of strength in your legs and the gas in the tank sort of thing. I guess it's one of those things where it's going to come over time. Hopefully we've got enough to go into that first game and be on par and really sort of challenge for that full 90 minutes, I guess. So I guess you've already touched on it with the standout performance, I guess, of preseason was Miguel Almiron. I think you were saying before 6 goals and 2 assists from him.
Yep.
Yeah. So very, I mean that in terms of like, this is a player who we've all loved his attitude and his smile around the club, even during the dark times. He's always got sort of like bags of running in his game. He'll work his ass off for the entire 90 odd minutes and never ever quits. Like he's always sort of like subbed off because he can't like breathe anymore, let alone run. So it's one of those things where he's always had that to his game, but he's never quite had that end product, and was one of the names that I think most people were going to be tipping to leave the club if we got a decent offer in for him. He's kind of made himself unsellable at the moment for the club, because if he can take that sort of form into the season where we're getting this like superb player, and it comes back to we signed him, he got basically thrown in after 6 months under Bruce, and then hasn't really had a proper manager looking after him and progressing his game. So maybe Eddie Howe's turned the magic key again, and like he did with Joe Linton, and we're coming out the other side with another absolutely top draw player that's gonna perform for us this season. In terms of other players, Keegan, who were your other standout players from the preseason games?
I think, I don't want to probably steal Craig's thunder here, but I think Elliot Anderson was probably one of the ones that stood out, purely because we didn't really know anything of him, did we? I mean, he was on the bench a couple of times, played a lot of the times in the under-21s or the reserves team, and then eventually got loaned out and then turned into the next Maradona, apparently.
Geordie Maradona.
That's what Joey thinks anyway. But, I mean, I've just been watching Eddie's press conferences after each game and the little bits of media that he's done during the preseason, and with all the reports that who's he going to go to, and he's got a whole list of suitors in the championship who are keen to take him, but he's done enough in Eddie's eyes to say, no, I think we want you around and you can be a part of what we're doing this year, which is a pretty big tick, I think.
Yeah, he certainly hasn't looked out of place in the preseason games. Craig, what's your thoughts on that one? Yeah, absolutely. You wouldn't think it was his first season or preseason with the first team squad. He looked like he belongs already, and he performed better than more of the experienced players. And he's definitely not one shy away from a tackle. He loves to be on the ball, and you can just see his fitness level is already there as well. I know he's only 19, so he should be running around for 90 minutes flat at that age. But he didn't look out of place. He didn't look like he was nervous or anything. He did claim he was nervous at his home debut, which you can expect. But that first 45 minutes or so, he was probably one of the better players on the pitch. He's linked with ASM in the games that I've seen him play as well. They've actually been fantastic. It looks like they could have a good partnership on the horizon, those two. Yeah, I think he looks comfortable on the ball. Like for someone his age to be coming in, he's had a bit of lower league experience, but for him to have that confidence on the ball is really reassuring at his age. It's also worth mentioning that
because of his age, he won't take up a squad spot. So we don't actually have to register him in the senior squad. So that's a bonus for us. It means we can still have our 25-man squad, and we'll cover this later, where we have an extra bonus couple of youngsters that are coming through that are probably going to get game time. Obviously, the question mark then becomes, how much game time is someone like Elliot Anderson going to have? And is it going to be enough to continue his development, or will he be better off going out on loan? I guess the beauty is the window doesn't shut for another couple of weeks. So we can have a couple of weeks where he's in and around, maybe on the bench, coming off, having a few cameo appearances. And if he seems like he's struggling, or he feels like, needs a bit more game time, then we can still loan him out. That's still on the table. So it's quite good to have those options up our sleeve. Personally, I think Botman stood out quite clearly. Absolutely class defender. Bruno, the usual suspects. I mean, it's that we're building up that kind of squad depth that we need, but we're building up that top end quality more as well. Trippier has linked up beautifully with Miggy, and I think Trippier has been a huge part in Almiron being as good as he has. But obviously Almiron's still got to go through. He's still got to finish the shots, score the goals, set up goals. He's still got to do that end product, which he looks finally, fingers crossed, that we're actually getting that out of him. So it's going to be, for me, it's going to be one of those wait and see moments to see if he can take it through into the main season. But, he's got to be given that chance. You've got to think. In terms of the players who maybe didn't do themselves any favors, Craig, any thoughts on some that maybe we thought would have been better and have kind of not?
There's two standouts for me in terms of had a poor pre-season. Chris Wood, he only scored the one goal, and that was the penalty. And Jacob Murphy, he has scored 2 goals in pre-season, but I think they were against Burnley and Gateshead, so nothing opponents, to be honest. And his passing is just atrocious. Right? There were some stats on the BBC website for the entire of last season. His pass completion was around 63%, which is awful. I know you didn't play every game, and he's not going to complete every game, but it should be better than that. It should, for a professional footballer in the Premier League, he just gives the ball away too much, and that was evident in the last friendly he played. There was a lot of talk on Twitter, exactly the same thing. How is Murphy still part of the squad? His passing is atrocious, and Wood's just not scoring enough goals. He's not even. He had one opportunity in one of the friendlies. I think it was the first one at St James's, where he could have scored, blatant headed straight at the keeper. And you think with some of his aerial ability, his prowess in the air, he should be finishing those. Those are his bread and butter type goals, you'd think.
Yeah, he's definitely feeling the pressure, I think, of not being as prolific as his price tag should have indicated. I think for Murphy, I mean, my feeling on Wood is he's never going to be a prolific striker. He does a lot of stuff off the ball. He's always involved in build-up play. He tracks back. He defends well from set pieces. He's always a threat from set pieces because of his height, but he's got to put the ball in the back of the net as a striker. Yeah, Murphy to me is just that weird one where bags and bags of pace, looks like he should be a decent player, flatters to deceive because he's never got any end product. He's kind of like what Miggy's been over the last couple of years. So, maybe there's something there to build on, but he needs to sort of start and get that. And for a player, and my personal issue, I think, is Murphy, Willock, these sorts of players, while they've kind of got some good things going for them, there's also that sort of sloppiness on the ball. And for a team that's trying to play a more possession-based game and a more passing-friendly game, being comfortable on the ball is important. Being able to complete those passes is important. And you've got people like Murphy who can't sort of pass it 5 yards and get it on target. You've got Willock, who's a bit sloppy with his first touch and gives it away far too often in midfield, which invites pressure. And there's a lot of that been going on in the past, but we're kind of moving on beyond that. So from Willock's point of view, I definitely hope that he improves that side of his game, because I do think he could be still a big player for us, but he needs to work on his like, you know, just the close ball skills and just sort of being more comfortable on the ball. Keegan, what's your thoughts on who didn't exactly sort of shower themselves in praise over the preseason?
Yeah, I think Wood, maybe it's hard because Wood done what Wood did the last half of the season.
How much wood would a woodchuck chuck?
Yeah. Wood done Wood. Like he didn't elevate himself to something more than what he was last year. He's just sort of kept along the same trajectory, and I think that's just him, and that's who he is, and that's who we've got. But I think, yeah, definitely Murphy. I mean, I'm not sure where his future lies. I mean, he's sort of slipped down the pecking order a fair bit, especially with Miggy's pre-season as well. So I'm not sure how much time he's going to get during, especially the early part of the season, if in fact we're looking for another right winger too. But one of the ones who sort of stood out for me a bit was Dubravka. I mean, when Pope come in, it was a genuine discussion as to who was going to be our number one and stuff like that. But it's pretty clear cut now, isn't it? Like I don't think Dubravka will be getting a look in unless something goes drastically wrong with Pope, which is probably not what people thought 5 or 6 weeks ago when he signed on.
Oh, for sure. I think, I mean, I had suspicions that Dubravka should have done better for the Bilbao goal at the weekend. I think it wasn't crossed with any pace. It was kind of looped up in the air, and it was close enough for him to kind of go out and command that ball, where he kind of just watched it float over his head onto an attacker, onto an attacking player's head. So not kind of what you want to see for someone who's like vying for that number one goalie spot. I guess from my point of view, I want to make a little bit of a mention to Sean Longstaff, who I genuinely think has sort of improved himself to the point where he's in contention for a squad place now. It's not something that I thought at the end of last season. I thought his career at Newcastle was not going to go anywhere. He looked a shade of the player that we saw when he was playing under Benitez. But in preseason, he seems to be like capturing that I wouldn't say flair or anything weird like that, but he's certainly becoming competent again, and you can rely on him to just do what he needs to do. And so that's kind of reassuring. And I guess the one last thing is a player who probably had an opportunity and has missed the boat due to injury is Jamal Lewis, with Matty Targett signed permanently. And then you've got Paul Dummett, who's signed another contract. So he's around, and as long as he can stay fit, he's perfect backup. But, you know, Bonswell's come in and he's performed quite well. He didn't look out of place either. And, you know, yes, okay, it's preseason games and it's like it's not a sort of full-blown Premier League game. But he looked competent. He looked good at places in some of the games that I saw him in. And, you know, you think, well, you know, how does Lewis get back into that side now? Unless he comes in when he is fit as maybe someone on the left wing, maybe as a more attacking player, because he's got that pace and he's got that sort of like attacking flair. So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see that. So I guess that sort of leads on to the next point that I was going to try and steer us onto, which was the squad positions and the squad numbers in terms of who we've got in what position. So in terms of the goalkeepers, we've got Dubravka, we've got Pope, we've got Darlow, and we've got Gillespie, all still on the books at the club. I fully expected Darlow to be going out on loan by now, so I'm surprised that hasn't happened. Obviously, I say we can't, but we have in the past. We shouldn't be going into the new season with 3, let alone 4 senior goalkeepers. Craig, like who do you think should go? Who do you think will go? Do you think we'll get rid of any of them?
Well, the fact I don't think he has any. I don't think Gillespie has any preseason games at all. I don't remember seeing his name mentioned on any of the team sheets or coming on as a sub. I know Darlow has, but that was mainly because either Pope wasn't up to scratch, or Dubravka had that wrist injury.
Yeah, that injury,
Yeah, so Gillespie, he could walk away from the team tomorrow, and I don't think he'd be a miss at all. He's not going to get any place in that squad. Darlow, again, could always be the same. Leicester, they're screaming out for a goalkeeper now, so you could gladly go to Leicester if you wanted to. It is going to be between Dubravka and Pope for that number 1 jersey. I do think Dubravka will keep it, but it's going to go very close and down to the wire, and he may even alternate the keepers based on form, just like you do with players in the middle of the park as well.
Yeah, certainly Howe's got that history now where he didn't bring Bruno straight in, even though the fans were crying out for it, because the midfield was playing well. So he wasn't dropping anyone because he was rewarding the performances, which is, to me, what you want to see. You want to see players sort of working their asses off to get in that squad, to get in that first team, playing well. And then you want them to feel like they're being rewarded for that effort. So Keegan, you're sort of good with Pope and Dubravka
and probably and then Darlow, whether he actually just gets loaned out or a gentleman's handshake, maybe not a transfer fee, but you got to take all his wages kind of operation. I think, just mainly for wages and stuff. I think just to get them off the books. I mean, if Gillespie's playing, we've had rotten luck with 2 bad injuries to our first choice goalkeepers. So I think Darlow is probably going to be the one who needs to find a new place for this season.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. So on to left back. We mentioned it briefly. We've got Targett, we've got Dummett, we've got Lewis, and we've got Bondswell. Obviously, Targett's going to be number 1 pretty much anytime he's fit and anytime we need him. He's got, touch wood, he's got a good injury record, so he doesn't get injured a lot. Seems to relish playing in that team at the moment, so fingers crossed he keeps that going. Dummett's a decent. I've always liked Dummett. I don't see him doing anything super flash, but he is always kind of, middle of the road, does what he needs to do. He gets a lot of stick that I don't think he's really deserves at times. And then Lewis, we said, he's been injured. He missed a chance to really prove himself. Obviously, it's not his fault if he's injured, but that could be a real turning point in his career at this club. He didn't go out on loan last season when he had the chance. And now, Bondswell's come in and he's performed quite well when he's had the chance. So, has Bondswell gone over Lewis as the 3rd choice right back, do you reckon, Keegan?
Oh, he probably has, purely on the fact that he's played. I mean, he's been the international man of mystery this preseason, hasn't he? Like, he hasn't trained. I don't think I've seen him training, and then he's just been injured. We don't know what's actually wrong. Is it his groin that's still not right from that surgery he got after he's left out of the squad in February? Like, no one knows. So it's hard to actually know where he's at and where his career's at the moment without the information.
Yeah, it's all been very quiet as well. There's not been a lot of news coming out of the club for that. Craig, are you happy enough with those 4 as our choices for left back, assuming that we probably do send someone out on loan?
Yeah, I think maybe if Lewis can get his fitness back up, maybe we send Bondswell out on loan to get some experience, because I think he will need it, or else he may just go a bit stagnant. Targett will be number 1, Dummett for backup, and then Lewis is 3rd, again, depending on Dummett's fitness, because we all know he's not the most reliable when it comes to keeping out of the treatment room, that's for sure.
Yeah, and then if you look at the centre backs, before we get into those, obviously Dan Burns in there as a left-sided centre back, but has actually played left back before as well. So you've kind of got Dummett, who can play the left-sided centre half, and then you've got Byrne, who can play left back as well. So you've got that flexibility, which again, if we end up with an injury problem at left back, you've got to be thinking, I'll be playing Byrne at left back ahead of someone like Lewis, who hasn't really shown much yet.
We've also got Matt Ritchie.
Yeah, the less said about Richie at left back, I think the better it is. It's like the fact that he played on the wing for the first time in God knows how long at the weekend, I think is just like was just a sight to behold. So yes, let's not go down Richie as
Let's not.
as a left back again. Left wing back, maybe.
No.
No. So the centre backs, obviously, our big money signing for the summer is Sven Batman. Has looked absolutely superb in preseason, comfortable on the ball. Some of his passing is just absolutely next level. Assured in defense, always seems to be reading the play well. So yeah, really excited to see how he's doing. He's probably going to have a crap season because I've put him in my fantasy football team. But I apologize in advance to every Newcastle fan if he does.
We'll be shit together then. Because he might too.
Yeah. Well, that's not too bad then. At least I've got someone else to blame as well.
Yeah.
So yeah. So Fabian Schär, Dan Burn, Lascelles, Fernandez is still there. I fully expect Fernandez to probably head off at some point.
Yeah.
I don't see us going into the season with 5 centre halves. I think we'll probably get rid of one of them if we can. And then Watts, I think, is a centre half. I might be mistaken there, but he's injured. Apparently, he's done himself in, so he's having surgery or something. So might be out for the season anyway.
Yeah, I did see that actually on social media. There was a little post saying maybe his knee or something.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, which is a shame. Which is a shame for the lad. Yeah. So I mean, I guess we've
Watts, isn't he?
Sorry,
23 kilowatts. I believe
he's getting on a bit. Yeah, I think he's definitely one of the older ones.
He's not going to make it at the club at that age, is he? You wouldn't have thought.
No, I think it's just a shame that he probably could have gone out on loan and sort of put himself in the shop window. Maybe sort of tried to get his career off somewhere else. So hopefully he gets himself back fit. And then I guess we had a little bit of a chat off air about potential starting lineup centre half pairings, and I'm pretty sure most of us are agreeing Sven Batman and Fabian Schär should be the centre half pairings. Craig, you're nodding in approval of that one.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the only time it would change is if there is a team with an abundance of height where Dan Burn may come in for corners and set pieces. But to start off with, it's going to be Schär and Batman, you'd think.
Yeah, Keegan, how do you reckon the whole captaincy issue is going to go though? So Lascelles is captain, so it's going to be a hard call not to play your captain.
Nah, it's easy. Not when you're as shit as him. When you're as bad as him, it's simple. I think, look, he'll be the club captain for the year, but I dare say that Trippier will be the match day captain. Or the game captain.
Trippier is always going to lead on the pitch, isn't he? And I think that's more important than anything.
Yeah, that's right.
No, that's fair enough. And then right back, we've got Trippier, Kraft, and Manquillo. So Manquillo's still there. I think realistically, we're probably going to try and get rid of one of Kraft or Manquillo. And, Kraft's done enough. He's just signed a new 1-year extension on his contract. So you've got to be thinking Manquillo's probably going to try and get out the door, maybe a loan, maybe an El Cheapo, just have him take his wages off our books. What do you reckon, guys?
Yeah, for sure.
Definitely.
I know, and I'm quite happy with Trippier and Kraft. I mean, I think Trippier, injury concerns, but it was a broken bone in his foot. It's not like it's a soft tissue injury that you're kind of hoping he doesn't have a recurrence of. It's like, it was just one of those things that happened. So onto the midfield, which is starting to get pretty stacked now. And it's getting a little bit of quality in there as well. So look, I kind of split midfield into midfielders, central midfielders, and then attacking winger type midfielders. So obviously in the middle, we've got Bruno and Joe Linton, the Brazilian duo that just put on masterclasses after masterclasses in that central area. As long as someone's there to calm Joe Linton down when the red mist comes up. And then we've got Shelby, who sadly is injured. He's probably out for a couple of weeks. We've been told. So hopefully again, he looks like he put in so much work preseason, and for him to get injured, it's a real shame because he's one of those players that I think we've all been really impressed with his work rate for, and we wanted to kind of have him get a reward for all that hard work that he's done. And then Willock, we've got Longstaff and Matt Staff. I'm not sure Matty's going to get much game time. I think he'll probably be shipped out on loan. And then Lucas de Bol, he's looked okay when he's come on. He's young enough as well. And it wouldn't surprise me if he went out on loan, maybe to the championship somewhere, if we can get a suitor for him. Obviously, the big two, Bruno and Joe Linton. Not 100% sure with Shelby out. I think Shelby would have been the logical choice. Obviously, we're in for a couple more players. It wouldn't surprise me if we did end up with someone like Madison, that all of the talks about at the moment, that he kind of played just in that sort of attacking midfielder role just in front of those players. What do you make of those players? Do you think that's enough? Do you think we still need a little bit of quality in that midfield for now, or do you reckon that'll do us out? Keegan, I'll let you go first.
Yeah, depends how much money we've got to spend. If we can, we'd still like to strengthen that area, I think, with a little bit more quality than Longstaff or Willock. But if our budget's a little bit tighter than what we're led to believe and what we've read, I think that'll do until January at least. And if it means we have to spend more on a right winger and a striker, then that's okay. But yeah, it's interesting where Shelby and stuff like that are going to fit when they're fit, and how the dynamic's going to be. And even if Madison comes in, do we sort of play two different formations with and without the ball? Like, does he have that sort of maybe Joe and Bruno as two holding mids, which Eddie's done during the game, and Madison's got sort of a free range number 10 box to box kind of role, and then in possession we drop back to a flat defensive three, like a 3-block, a 3-block, and a 4-block. Yeah, I mean, there's plenty of options there, and I think some of the fans that are saying about, we don't play with an attacking midfielder, like we don't need James Madison. That's not the positions we play. Like, mate, they could play 4 different formations in the first half of a game, and I reckon 50,000 of the fans wouldn't even have known that they're sort of shifting, and everything's fluid now, isn't it? Like, we're not just playing a 4-4-2 for 90 minutes, and that's how we're going to be. Like, things with the ball, without the ball, where's the ball, and then it's more blocks, isn't it? Really, like,
It's phases of play, I think. Like, you're
like
basically having, you're without the ball, so you're kind of like pushing back in a little bit. You're pressing the forwards. You get the ball back, and then suddenly there's a switch in dynamic, and players move out to different positions, and I think that's beautiful to see in terms of real football tactics.
A what? What's a
Don't do tactics.
Are they like tic tacs, or what are tactics? I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's a wonderful thing to behold. Craig, I guess there's a lot of talk being of Lucas Paqueta. The longer this goes on, the more it looks like we're not going to end up going in for him, which I still find really surprising. I have to say, given the talk was that we did put a bid in for him before we actually bought Bruno, so we obviously had an interest there. There's been talk that his price is quite negotiable now. Whether or not we're waiting our time, or we're putting all these erroneous bids in just to kind of like sort of smoke screen or something, I don't know, but it's going to be interesting to see what happens with that. But do you reckon how do you see the midfield sort of lineup, and what do you make of the quality that's in there now?
A big issue for me is Shelby is now picking up injuries quite frequently. He ended the season injured, and now he's starting the season injured.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
And is he going to get to the point where he can be consistent on the pitch? Or is he going to be picking up injuries every 5, 6, 7 games or whatever, which is going to hold his progress and the team's progress? And I don't have the faith in Longstaff or Willock to do the same job as Shelby, because I don't think either of them got the long pass range that he has when he's on form. And I don't think they've got the leadership quality that he has in that middle as well. Hence why he's probably given the captain's armband a few times last season. That is a big potential worry for me if he is picking up these injuries. Longstaff, again, just going back to your quote before about how he's almost on par when he was under Rafa. That is brilliant to see. Willock, I don't know. I think he's going to have an indifferent season. I don't think he's going to get as much game time as what people think. He may be an impact sub like he was on the Leicester game when he had that ball cross from Bruno. I think that's his perfect type of game when players start to tire. He's got the energy, he's got the legs, he can run, but I can't see him starting many games. Bruno and Big Joe, they're a shoo-in. That's inevitable. I do think we need another player in there just to help cover for injuries because I don't think Shelby's going to play many games this season, unfortunately.
And suspensions as well. I mean, you know, we've seen him preseason. Big Joe's not going to shy away from many tackles this season, I don't think. So inevitably, there's going to be at least a lot of yellow cards, if not a couple of red ones, just during the season. So let's see what we have lined up for the end of the season. But yeah, I do agree. We probably need a bit of cover for some of those players that are genuine first team sort of first choice players, but it drops off a bit in quality from the likes of Joe Linton and Bruno, and obviously with Shelby being out as well. Onto the attacking players. I'm trying to move ourselves on a little bit here. ASM on the wing, Fraser, Almiron on fire in preseason, Anderson, who has been an absolute breath of fresh air. Nice to see a sort of local lad coming through and actually doing really well and not looking out of place, even at his age and inexperience. And then we sort of round that off with probably Murphy and Richie as our attacking options, which does worry me a little bit that if we got down to those scraping the bottom of the barrel players, if you like. I guess, again, it comes down to we're starting to build up a little bit of squad depth there. We're starting to get a little bit more quality, but obviously the right wing has been the problem position that everyone's been desperate for us to fill all transfer window. Keegan, what do you make of that, and who do you reckon is probably going to get shipped out if we can? And you know, how good is that going to be for the actual season?
I think, if anything, probably Richie's the one who'll end up going back closer to his family. I still don't think they've actually moved up to the area, and this has been lingering for probably 2 or 3 years now, hasn't it? That he has ties back to the South Coast and his family's there and his kids are there and stuff like that. And I think when it first sort of come 2 or 3 years ago, no one was going to begrudge him if he wanted to move back for family reasons. So
not at all, no.
And Isaac Hayden was the same, wasn't he? He was in the same boat, and everyone said, look, we don't want to lose you, but we totally understand that your family situation. I think Rich is the same now. It'll probably be up to him, I think. The almighty, I was going to say dollar, but it's probably the almighty pound will dictate whether, if he thinks he get enough playing down there, then if not, he might just stay up here for another season and get that last little 40 grand a week or 45, whatever he's on. And
look, I think he's good to have around the dressing room, certainly.
100%. Definitely.
I think it's got to be as that role. I don't see him, you know, I'd be worried if he ends up, if we get to the point where Richie's got to play, because it probably means we've got some horrendous injury concerns up front. So, Craig, what about yourself? Do you see that being enough, that those attacking options and the wingers?
On the right-hand side, it is... If Almiron can continue the form, then that problem could be solved. It's a big if that, to be honest. We'll find out in maybe the first 4 to 5 games, see how he's going with that. Hopefully the transfer window will still be open then. I think it will be, with a few games in. So there could still be time to bring that player in if needs be. Fraser, you heard me feelings on Fraser before. I don't think he's... not Fraser, Murphy, sorry. I don't think Murphy will get much game time, if any. Could even be surprised if Murphy's cut from the squad. If we are looking to get another right winger in, I think he could be one of the ones that is cut. Fraser, he's a workhorse. He will run and he can play on both wings as well, which is good. So he's got that versatility. And I just don't know if he's got enough in him in terms of creativity to get the goals for Wilson. And same for Wood as well. You run down a crisp pack in the wind, but he just doesn't have that end product.
Yeah, no, he's a complete terrier, isn't he? He's like, he'll never give up. He'll run everything down, but you know, God, it's just, again, it comes down to that little bit of extra quality that we need to take that next step. And right now, we definitely could use another player, I think. And then onto the striker situation to finish this bit off. But, I guess the strikers are going to be a bit of a worry for us. Like Chris Wood's not scoring goals. Callum Wilson, absolutely fantastic if he can stay fit. If he stays fit with this team, and if we do add a little bit more creativity before the window shuts, you got to be thinking he's going to be pushing 15 goals or so for the season easy. And then we've got Santiago Munoz, who's like the youngster that's in. I think we're all kind of like hoping that he gets on. It's like, come on, Santiago. But, realistically, he's probably not going to get much of game time this season. Has been scoring a few goals when he's been on international duties. And it's like, maybe it's worse. Stranger things have happened. But you've got to be thinking we need another senior striker in on that team. Yeah. What do you reckon, Craig?
Absolutely. Yeah. Wilson reliability in terms of injuries, just there isn't any reliability there at all. Wilson is the main threat that we have, but we can't rely on him. Wood, he's just not getting them in. The fortunes could change and you could start banging them in left, right, and centre. Hopefully that is the case. But I do think if Wilson gets injured, we don't want to just rely on Wood being there as a target man with a hold-up play. We want somebody who can run at defenders. He's got the pace, he's got the timing, which Wood just doesn't have. No. He's not suited to our style of play. As much as I like him in terms of what he brings to the squad, he's there to score goals, and he just so far hasn't delivered.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. What about you, Keegan?
Yeah, no, I think I said in the group chat a few weeks ago, what we actually need is a first-choice winger and a second-choice striker. Yeah, if that's how you want to frame it for a transfer sort of window, that's not what we want. But what we actually really, really need is first choice winger and a backup striker.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. I don't think we're going to get a striker in that's going to be head and shoulders first team over Wilson. Certainly not for what we're willing to pay or able to attract this window. We've seen, where we kind of got blown out of the water by Liverpool on Darwin Núñez. We're not in that race yet, so we've got to kind of build ourselves up to that. And it'll be nice to see us get someone who, I guess this was the whole point of trying to get someone nice and young who was still able to come in. But with Ekitike, where you had that sort of really promising player who was able to come in and play games, but wasn't going to demand that first choice spot straight away. But let's see what the rest of the window holds. I'm actually good going into the season. I know a lot of people are stressing about the fact that we still don't have enough in the tanks just yet. We don't have enough in reserves, and we need a little bit of extra quality. I'm good to start the season as we are, hoping that in the next couple of weeks, because the transfer window doesn't close yet, that we still manage to get those extra few bodies in that will just kind of take us up to that next level. So we'll see. And,
sure.
we've got to trim some fat from the squad, but we'll have to wait and see.
People are getting carried away, aren't they? I'd be absolutely you could knock me down in a feather if we do not sign another player for the rest of this transfer window.
I'd be very surprised.
Yeah, I agree with you. What we've got now is basically what we've finished with last year. I mean, Pope's maybe better than Dubravka, a slight upgrade. Botman's a little bit of an upgrade to Burn, but the majority of all these players are who we finished with last year, and we were the fourth best team after Christmas. So I mean, it's not like we're playing under-resourced and stuff like that. The guys have shown that they're more than capable of producing results with what we've got at the moment. So I don't, like you said, some of the hysteria is actually ridiculous. And we're going to get new players. Just chill out, but trust the guys that are here now are going to actually perform and do a job for us, because they've shown that they can do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely. Cool. Right then, that's probably taken a little bit longer than I was expecting it to, but let's crack on. We've got a bit of a little bit of a prediction session now for the coming season. We're not going to go through the Nottingham Forest game because we do have a podcast coming up this week specifically as a pre-game sort of session with a Nottingham Forest fan. So keep an eye out for that one coming up. But we're going to go through a couple of predictions from us. First, we're going to start off with our player of the year. So Craig, I'm going to let you kick this one off.
It's got to be Bruno, hasn't it? I don't think anyone could get close to him. If he had started 1st of February or whenever we brought him in on that first game as everyone, you probably would have took it off Joe Linton, to be honest. The bloke was an absolute phenomenal when he came in on that debut we made against Everton. I think it was his first appearance for the club. And even
I thought you were going to drop an F-bomb then,
he showed everything. He was backheeling from the corner flag and through people's legs in that first opening 3 minutes he had. Bruno will be the player of the year if he can even show a glimpse of what he could do last season. He's just head and shoulders above everyone we've got right now.
That's fair enough. Keegan, who's yours?
Yeah, nah, my heart skipped a beat. I thought Craig was going to drop the magic when he stumbled on phenomenal. He sort of went, oh my God, don't say it, don't say it. Yeah, hey, Bruno's going to be the player of the year for as long as he's here. If he's here for 10 years, he's going to win the next 10.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna drop something here because I don't think my worry is that the expectation is going to be so high after what the standard is that he's already set that he probably will end up kind of not living up to the hype, but still being this absolutely fantastic player. So don't get me wrong, I think he probably should and probably will get player of the year. If Callum Wilson stays fit, I think he scores the goals and I think he gets the player of the year for me. But it's a mighty big if.
Even if he doesn't, even if he's total form, he'll still do 6 or 7 things during the game that'll make everyone go, whoa.
That is fair. That is definitely
and then
fair.
everyone be like, oh, did you see what Bruno did? And then so you just wipe out whatever he done for the rest of the 88 minutes of the game.
That is probably true. I'm just trying to temper my man crush. It's I have such a man crush on him right now. It's just
Andy made me feel good, so I'm gushing now. I don't even try and hide it.
That's fair enough. I've probably tried to kind of squeeze someone else in there, but yeah, Bruno's probably the best call. So top goal scorer, Keegan, I'll let you kick this one off.
Yeah, no, I had Cal. I think same sort of thing. I think he could score 15 or 16 goals for us this year. I'll get to something else later on with one of our other categories. But yeah, I think, he played half the year last year and won it. So it's not, it's not. Although, there was part of me that thought if John Joe played a full season, could Bruno, as that sort of deeper midfielder, and Bruno played that kind of roaming role that he played in games last year, could he, if Wilson gets injured, could he score enough to actually overtake him? And then I took my Bruno glasses off again and just went with the guy who scores all the time.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I mean, I've gone with Wilson just purely and simply because, as you said, he was out half the season last year and still managed to get the club top goal scorer. So I think if Eddie Howe gets him and hopefully keeps him fit, or at least, if we do get that extra striker in and we can rotate Callum Wilson and he's not stretching for things and he's not sort of overplayed, and more importantly, he's not feeding off scraps, so he's not having to work his ass off 24/7 inside the club because he's not got anything else to do. The fact that he can play his natural game and he's not having to run around like a headless chook, that's got to be a big plus for him staying fit for longer. So, fingers crossed. Craig, what do you reckon?
Wilson, if he stays fit 100%. If not, I'm going to go for ASM.
Interesting, yeah. Interesting that because he's actually seems to be passing a lot more in preseason, which is what everyone's been saying that he needs to do and get his head up and stop just sort of running at defenders. He seems to be laying the ball off a lot more now. So interesting that you've gone for him as the top goal scorer, despite the fact that he is looking to pass more. Maybe if we sort of talked about combined goal efforts, that would definitely be ASM.
He might find too that the passing more will open up his shot more, because at the moment defenders will just, they know he's going to shoot, so they'll crowd him. But all of a sudden, if they're not sure if he's going to shoot or pass, he might actually find a little more pockets to get a shot off every now and then.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
So top assists, on to the next one. I'm gonna kick this one off. I actually think, and this is going to be a bit tricky because I think Bruno will finish top in the assists, but I reckon that someone like Botman with his through balls, I think ASM, the fact that he's passing more, and I think Trippier because he's just absolutely class. I think they will run him close, but I'm going to go for Bruno because I think where he plays, I think he's going to be involved in everything. So I'll let you go, Keegan, because I seem to have stolen your thunder there.
Yeah, no, I had Trippier. I think Trippier will be like, he does get forward a lot, and they do. Fullbacks traditionally do have the most ball in Eddie Howe's sides, and I think he'll take a fair few of our set pieces as well. So he might get a few slices out of them. So yeah, that's who I went for, purely because I think he'd be on the ball a lot, and his set pieces give him a lot of opportunity.
Do you get an assist for a quarter, like taking a corner?
I think so. You do on fantasy, I'm pretty sure.
Well, that's all right then. We'll just go off the fantasy.
Yeah. So he's in my fantasy team too.
Yeah, fair enough. Craig, who's your top assist for the season?
I'm gonna go for Joe Linton.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, I just think he's just going to be everything about him. He's going to be all over that pitch. He's just going to be dancing around everybody, and he doesn't want to take a shot because I know he's not a natural goal scorer, and I just think he's going to be the type of person who would rather let somebody else take the glory than him rifle one in from 35 yards, 5 minutes into 90 at the Gallagher end. I do think he's going to be that person who would love to get those assists on there. He only got one assist last season, but you got to remember he was playing a lot deeper. I think he's going to be pushed forward a bit more, especially if you don't get that attacking play. And Joe Linton for me. Bold call, that one, I think.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, that's an interesting decision. Hopefully he does. I mean, I think he's going to be playing that box-to-box role a lot more rather than just sitting deep. So hopefully he does get forward enough and gets involved with play. And obviously, I think Bruno will get a lot more attention. So if that frees up space for Big Joe, then could be onto something there, Craig. So these next two are going to be a pretty contentious topic, I think. So the first one is going to be, who do you think is going to be the club's biggest overachiever of this season? Keegan, I'll let you kick this one off first.
So the biggest overachiever. So who we think that's
who's going to sort of surprise everyone and be better than you think? Yeah.
It's probably a really obvious thing to say after the preseason, but I think Miggy.
Yeah.
I think going last year, most people would, every time he'd get it, and you could see the hands go up, and every time he'd turn it over, or he wouldn't get his shot away, or if he did, it ended up near the opposition fans on level 7 or whatever it was. And I think his sort of link-up play was so good, and his end product was so bad. It was like, but I think he could, people go, oh, maybe like what Craig said earlier with Big Joe, maybe he could be the Big Joe of this year, maybe not to that standard, but yeah, I think he could definitely take a big step forward for what he's produced for us the last 3 or 4 years.
No, that's fair. Craig?
If he plays enough games, Kraft, because he massively overachieved last season, I reckon. Nobody expected the form he was going to be in those last 10 games or however many it was. And if he plays the games, I think he could be that person. Otherwise, maybe Sean Longstaff. Because, again, nobody's expected the change in such a short space of time. He could be that player who definitely takes that accolade.
Yeah,
that's a great shout.
Sean Longstaff was definitely my call. I think I've been really impressed with the levels. As I said, he's shown some pretty good touches in preseason. I think he looks like he's more confident in himself, but more so just in the role that he's expected to do. He's not going to be a starter. He's not going to play every game. but he looks like he's going to be able to come on and do a really good, solid job for the team. And I think, given the previous, probably 2 seasons, I think he's probably due a good one given his recent run. So hopefully he does. And the next one is the opposite of that. So the club's biggest underachiever, who's going to disappoint the most. So Craig, I'll let you kick this one off first.
Chris Wood.
It's a low bar.
It's like not even a discussion. It's just Chris Wood.
I've got a feeling he's just going to come into there. He'll put in a shift. He'll do what he done last season, while he'll hold up the ball, he'll bring other players in. But again, ultimately, his job is to score goals. And I don't see him getting anywhere close to double figures, let alone, even thinking about doing it. He just doesn't have it in him. And I don't think we have the squad to support his style of play, which I think is a good thing, because we want the more passing, fluid style, attractive play, rather than the old hump it up the pitch like they did at Burnley and maybe get lucky from the odd set piece for corners. But yeah, Chris Wood is going to be the most disappointing player of the season.
Keegan?
This is going to be really...
Yours isn't quite as cut and dry, clearly.
No.
There's an explanation behind yours.
Yeah, I'll just say my name and get up and go. No, I think, which is going to be a real shame to say this, because it's probably the best pre-season he's ever put in his life, but I think John Joe's probably going to be the one who takes a backward step, because he was he was definitely a first 11 lock for not just last year, but all the other years before that. But I just feel, especially what Craig said with his injuries, like he finished last year, and by all reports, he was carrying a niggly groin for a lot of the season as well. Eddie spoke about. So I'm just worried for him that he's the wrong side of 30 now, and these little niggles keep coming, and then we need aggressive players who can get around the pitch. I just don't think that's going to be him anymore. I think we spoke about it on our little Snap James Madison pod over the weekend, where I can see him being a valuable super sub, where his biggest sort of weakness is when teams put a bit of heat on him and he doesn't get time on the ball, and he's not as effective. But if he can come on, especially with the 5 subs now, he can come on with 15, 20 minutes to go with a tiring sort of opposition, and he'll get that time on the ball. But I just don't think he's got the tickets anymore to go 90 minutes consistently with this sort of high octane style we want to play, I guess. So I think, John Joe, unfortunately, sorry, mate. I know you watch this, but not you.
No, it's fair. I keep forgetting that we've got 5 subs this season.
Yeah, I'm not sure. Is it like the A-League where you get 5 subs, but you only get 3 breaks?
I haven't really.
So you have to make you can do a double, and a single, or you can make a 3 and a 2 or whatever it is. I'm not sure.
I don't know. It's probably worth looking into that, because that makes a hell of a lot of sense. Otherwise, it will just descend into a farce, like with a team who's like, a goal up. They're just going to run out the clock with, all these like sort of little
every minute there's
subs,
a
other minute.
Sub.
And I think it just could be a bit of a farce if they start doing that. So it'll be worth having a look into that, actually. For me, I'm actually going to go with Willock, because I think the hype surrounding him, by a lot of fans expecting massive things off him this season. I think he will do okay, but I think he will not get to the actual levels that a lot of fans are expecting from him this season. I think there's a lot of talk that, he's going to push on this season. He's going to do really well for himself. And I genuinely hope that I prove wrong here, because I think he's a great player. I think he's done surprisingly well since he's been here. Had a bit of a down patch last season, didn't really capture his form, but let's be fair, he was never going to. But for me, with us playing this sort of passing game that's very heavy in like sort of keeping possession now, he looks out of place, because in that central midfield area, he needs to be better on the ball. And he's not. He misplaces passes. He miscontrols balls through to him. He's great when he's on the counter attack, and I think he will score goals for us. but I also think he will end up being a bit of a liability in that central midfield. And I genuinely hope I'm wrong, and I really hope that he does well. But for me, it is a massive worry that he's not as comfortable on the ball in that midfield slot as a Bruno or a Joe Linton. That just looks so assured, and I think we're relying on that sort of level of comfort on that ball and ball retention. So,
actually,
sorry?
Mark, could you see him as like another super sub, like a John Joe, where use his energy, his ability to get up and down the ground for the last 20 minutes against more tiring players?
Definitely.
And stuff like that?
Definitely.
Yeah.
I think that's his best position, to be honest. I don't think he is. That's how he got so much success under Bruce, because he was thrown on at the last minute against tiring opposition as someone who just ran onto the ball. He was playing in a more attacking midfielder role rather than that central midfield role that he seems to be occupying under Howe. And I don't think that's doing him any favors. I think if you played him like ahead of the main midfield as someone who came on off the bench with fresh legs, plenty of running in the tank, who can finish quite well, I think he will play a lot better. But if he's expected to play as a starting midfielder in central midfield, I don't think he's got that game to him, to his game just yet.
We've probably got a couple of them, haven't we? I mean, I said Shelby, Willock. I think Fraser or Almiron could actually be a pretty impactful sub for the last 15 minutes of a game.
Which, let's be fair, something that we've not had for a long, long time. No. And Ashley is a decent bench that we can affect games with. But that's really good to see. That is definitely really good to see. So two things just to finish up. These shouldn't take too long, hopefully. So I wanna get your predictions on both the cups in terms of where we'll finish and when we'll either get knocked out, or do you think we'll win them? So Craig, I'll let you go first. FA Cup.
FA Cup. I'm going to go with 5th round. I think 5th round is good progression. A lot of people won't know what the 5th round of the FA Cup is. That's a strange place. You're still in the cup come March, really? Carabao Cup, or whatever it's called these days. This is my one bold prediction. I think we'll make the final. I'm not saying we're going to win it. But I think we'll make the final. That is my one bold prediction. And that, I think, is our gateway to Europe.
No, that's fair enough. Keegan?
I think I was going to say the 5th round as well. I think we might get a very good opposition in that sort of weekend of games. I don't think we're going to be as lucky as what Bruce was with his cup run or cup limp, whatever he crawl, whatever it wasn't really a run. We were bloody penalties and extra time against Division bloody 2 sides. But I think the Carabao, Coca-Cola, whatever it's called these days, I think we can make like a quarterfinal or a semi-final, especially with the emphasis the top teams, like the really top teams, have at the moment with their obsession to get into the Champions League places. Especially Liverpool and Man City are really going to be at each other the whole season, I think, for the title. And that cup's a little bit earlier, so I think we can maybe sneak in through and sort of play a pretty good 11 the whole way through and actually try and get close to it.
Yeah, I think as with most cup competitions, obviously it's going to come down to the luck of the draw. I think as long as we can avoid Man City or Liverpool, because I think they've got good enough squads where they will play a weakened side and still be good enough to beat most teams. I think you probably have a lot of the other top sides who don't take it very seriously. So the League Cup is a good opportunity for us to really progress far, because even when we do play a top side, they're probably not interested in it as much. I'm going to go. I actually was thinking maybe semis. I'm hoping Craig's going one more, and I'm hoping he's right. For the FA Cup, I actually wouldn't is again, if we do get a good cup run, I think maybe quarterfinals. I don't think we'll go much beyond that, just because I think we'll be pushing some tired legs uphill by that stage of the season. But maybe we get a couple of recruitments in January again and push on from there. So, and finally, rounding things off for the evening, what position do you think we're going to finish in, Keegan?
I think 9th. But we'll end up with more points than what we did last year. So I think the teams ahead of us, apart from probably Leicester, have all improved a fair bit. And it's going to be really hard, I think, to actually get in front of them with what we've got at the moment. But if we can get to 9th with more points, and we'll all take no relegation threat or anything like that, but a comfortable 9th with more points, I think that's probably, and like a decent cup run could probably be, I'd be happy with that probably for the season.
I think that's been my sort of like raison d'etre for the entire preseason is all I want is probably a top 10 finish and a good cup run, and I'll be happy. That's good progress for us. But obviously, if we can get to a final and push top 8, guarantee that European spot, then that's going to be even better. So I think we'll probably finish 8th. I think we could finish higher than that, depending on what the rest of the window holds for us. But as it stands right now, assuming everyone clicks the way they did last season, I think top 8's probably a good shout for us. So, Craig, finish us off. What's your prediction?
Yeah, I think there's kind of going to be a little mini league for that 7th and 8th position. Really, you've got there's us, Leicester, West Ham, Wolves, maybe even Brighton as well. They're a decent, solid team. Based on the current squad as it is now, I'm going to say top 10. If we can add another 1 or 2, even 3 quality signings, then top 8.
Yep, no, I'm good with that. Cool. So I think that's probably enough for us waffling on for the night. I think we've covered everything we needed to. Obviously, I think we're all buzzing. New season. Don't forget, we've got a watch along for the Nottingham Forest game. I think Craig's doing it. I'm not sure who else is joining you.
Keegan as well.
Keegan, and then is it? I'm not 100% sure if I'm going to be able to make it because I've been dragged away up to sunny Noosa for the weekend, so I'll probably be watching that on my phone in bed late at night. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, absolutely buzzing for the new season. And yeah, we'll obviously have the preview pod on later on this week for everyone. So for everyone watching on YouTube, thank you for watching. Please drop a like, subscribe, and obviously give us some feedback. Ask us any questions you want. Obviously, we all like the comments. We get some positive feedback, but if there's anything you want us to include, please feel free to make some suggestions. And anyone listening on, throw your predictions in. Yeah, we want to hear those as well. Get a bit more controversy in to add to Craig's finals appearance. And then we'll everyone that's on Spotify and the other and Apple podcasts.
Tweet us your predictions too.
Yeah, tweet us along. So send us some tweets along to the podcast's Twitter handle. And thank you very much. So we'll leave it there, and I'll see you again for the next one. Cheers, everyone.
Cheers, lads.
See you, boys.
Cheers, guys.